Hello everyone, my name is XAltedOne and welcome back to Heroes University. Today's something a little bit different than the normal kind of process that we've built so far for the series. Today we're doing a special on a particular hero, today being Jaina. She's over to my left, right, whichever side it's going to be on. She is a very, very powerful mage, is still quite strong in the current meta even, and is a very, very approachable hero for new players in the game. So what we're going to go over is a replay that I did of a game that I played a couple days ago on Jaina, and we're going to walk through what my decisioning was, why, and where I'm moving myself, and who I'm focusing on or targeting, what abilities I'm using in some of the key team fights. So we're going to gaze through most of it, but we'll stop completely, pause, and go over the entire situations and things that you need to be looking at, and some of the mistakes or the good things that I did in that particular game that you can watch out for yourself, because by no means am I like a grandmaster top-tier player, but I know a bit, and I've played quite a bit on Jaina. She's getting up there in experience, and is a character that I highly, highly enjoy. And at the end of the video that we're going to do today, after that replay and that follow-up, we are going to give away a code for Jaina. If you do not yet have Jaina as a hero in your repertoire of heroes, you can definitely just drop a comment below, and we will give that away to somebody that is looking forward to that hero. So let's go ahead and hop right into the Nexus and onto our replay. Alright, now today in this game we found ourselves on Infernal Shrines. So a very strong map already for Jaina. Now you may ask why that may be. This is a map that focuses on the objective more than anything else, and on Waveclear. Waveclear is so important because it can gain you a significant advantage going into the objective phase, where you gain a substantial talent tier. The immortals that spawn on the objectives whenever they do come for the bottom, mid, or on top lanes are very, very strong, and will push towards the enemy keeps and do a ton of damage, especially in the later part of the game, and very difficult to stop. Now, the friendly team in this particular instance, on the blue side, we had Valla, Alarak, Varian, Zarya, and Gazlo. So Gazlo is strong lane presence, and as Jaina, we're going to need to watch out for a couple things. Valla on 1v1 is going to be even or in a slight edge towards Valla. She has very quick auto attack damage and very high amounts of damage. So the only thing that we can really do is if she maybe gets hit with a couple of our abilities, she may drop very quickly because she also has a very low health pool. Alarak, for the most part, should be able to just beat us 1v1, almost guaranteed. He's going to be able to get in, silence us so we can't even damage him, and be able to follow up on damage further. Varian also has very strong dive. So he's going to be something that we need to be worried about or to be concerned about our positioning when we don't know where he or Alarak are at. Gazlo, not too much of an issue. Usually we can outpush him, at least in waves, or outclear him, I should say. Not push, but clear. And Zarya is not too much of an issue. Her shields are a problem with other characters around, or if we feed her too much in damage, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of concerns beyond Varian and Alarak on the enemy team that we need to watch for. The friendlies, Nova, Diablo, Dahaka, Jaina, and Ragnaros. So between Diablo and Dahaka, we have very, very strong engagements and very good setups for Jaina in general. So again, another positive on our side. We have the map on our side, we have the engagement on our side, and the crowd control between Diablo and Dahaka to make Jaina shine. So something that you always want to take a look immediately before the game's even started. We're 0 seconds into the replay, and already we've picked apart quite a bit of what the team comps are, what that means for us, and where we need to position. So a little bit back safe when we don't know where Alarak and Varian are, aggressive when we're against Gazlo, and possibly Valla depending on who's around us. Now, Valla and Alarak are also going to have to watch out for Nova throughout the game because she is a constant presence. And we should be able to gain a substantial presence on these objectives. But let's go ahead and move forward and follow us through here. So we'll go ahead and speed her up quite a bit. Focus in on ourselves. As soon as she slows down, there we go. This is going to look a little bit crazy for a second just to get caught up. But we'll go ahead and let that just kind of go through and switch right into middle lane, where for the most part you should in general expect a team fight to break out, or at least a quick skirmish. So we come in pretty early into the game. The enemy team, though not any knowledge that we would have at this point, Varian top, Gazlo bottom. So they're not looking for a strong scrimmage at this point, but the enemy team is still here. Now, the thing that's something to note on Vala is because we don't know where the enemy team is, we don't know what's going on the map, we need to stay very, very defensive. So, notice everyone is balled up here as a little death ball. We don't want any fucking part of that, because if we get hit hard, we are ski-rude. So we're going to stay back pretty safely behind here. And as long as Diablo is in front of us, we have pretty good peel and a pretty good defense on our side. So we just kind of stay back a little bit, let this kind of start out, and then we can move in. But, again, where is the enemy team and where is our team positioned? This does open us up to a Vala on the back end, but early game in particular, it's not that big of a deal, and our team can immediately turn around for strong damage because then she is constantly out of position at this point. So, we again move forward. Team fight going mostly in our way, in our favor. Diablo is pretty low, but we do drop down a blizzard right on top of the enemy team here in the enemy Zarya. So eating a bit of damage. Alarak drops. Diablo still has a very strong sustain, even early game, so he should be able to stay just fine. Varian tries to rotate down. He is too late, sees our entire enemy or friendly team, and decides to get the fuck out. Now, Vala can't really engage either because, again, she was out of position and got forced back as our team rotated together. So already we had a first pick through the game. Nothing too shabby at all. So we go ahead and rotate top personally. We went ahead and ping that on the map. Always good in particular to let your team know where you're going and what you're doing at any time. So Dahaka, strong lane clear versus Gazlo, not going to be too much of an issue, though Dahaka can struggle to outpush him. It would be a bit of a problem for him. We know that 3 middle is going to be just fine. Nova's going to move between to try and help out, which we were hoping for on the top lane at some point. But Varian early game has no sustain himself and very little ability to push us back. So we can play quite aggressive here. And we just ignore him completely and just lay down on top of the wave. Now, what works out for early game, and this switches for Jaina later on, you can lay a blizzard right on top and hit the entire wave if you place it correctly, and then as that second or third wave crashes down, you hit with the E, the Cone of Cold, and that finishes that wave off. Even at level 1, you can instantly clear a wave with 2 shots from your basic abilities. So, Varian tries to engage, of course, which he kind of blocks out basic damage that's not really doing a whole lot, and then he can't really tank the minion wave, even though it is only 5 or a small minion wave, that's still a bit of damage he doesn't want to eat. So, we go back just for the moment because we know that a gank potential is somewhat high with Vala and Zarya. Because the shields can come out from Zarya, Varian is enabled at that point to move in on us. So we go ahead and back up, and Sippy Cup, even though it is early, it's still one of the better decisions. If you're going, or think you're going to die, either go back or hit a Sippy Cup. And especially this early, no real strong damage by a solo laner is going to do that. Especially like a Varian early game is very easy to push back. And we know that both Alarak and Zarya are on middle, and Gazlo is on bottom. So not too much of an issue, and at that point, Vala is dead yet again. So again, we just ignore Varian almost completely. We do miss a little bit of the combo there on the minions, but again, we can push him back. He's tanking damage again because he dove too deep. We get our regen globe and just kind of avoid his damage and wipe out the enemy waves. So again, we've already had 2 waves pushed into the tower versus Varian, and it's only level 2. 2 for 2 waves have hit the tower. So he again dives in. We hit him with a Q just to make sure that he gets that debuff from the frost damage. So then we can drop right on top of him and make sure that we're going to stand around or dance around our blizzard so he tries to get into it. So he eats damage there, eats damage from his second wave, is smart enough to back out, but we're even on health. So this is where it gets a little bit scary because now I'm in a position where I'm going to possibly take damage from the enemy team, or he can re-engage. But again, because we know what level we're at 2, he can't come back on us yet. His cooldown for his charge is quite long until he hits level 4 at a minimum, and he doesn't have a whole lot of other options available to him. So we can turn right back around, hit him with Cone of Cold, and at this point he is struggling. He is slowed from our trait, and he is pushing away very, very quickly. We thought he was going to juke left to go back. He does not. But again, we can just kind of follow up. Thinking he was going to re-engage, he did not. Instead, he tries to flee. Hits us with a little poke damage, but again, the Frostbolt goes right on out. You can predict their movement, and it hits him and blows him up. So, very, very low, but in general, you can play people with Jaina's trait. That slow is extremely handy, in particular against melee heroes, because you can just kind of kite them around and deal damage the entire time. Keep your debuff on them and move around constantly. So again, we have a shrine that's about to come up top, but we are way low, and we already used our sippy cup. Believe it may have been available, but I do not think so. So what we do here is just make sure that we clear the wave out, and we go ahead and back. Grab that regen globe just out of pure habit. But the enemy team deciding, or excuse me, the friendly team moving up. We're going to be down on numbers a little bit as we start to come up to the objective. Dahaka did die, unfortunately, to Vol in bottom lane, but we are coming up. We have Nova scouting the area. Diablo a bit caught out, but not too much of an issue. So when we are coming in, we'll just let this play through a little bit until we're ready to go. Okay, so we are right here. We just had Nova drop. Diablo is already having to back, and Ragnaros is the only one that's going to be in the middle. Dahaka can come in at any point, but what we should be looking for is any opportunity to poke. That is one of Jaina's best opportunities and best things that her kit provides, is safe and consistent poke damage. Because you slow them, they can't engage too hard on you. You can move forward and just kind of keep touching away that damage as much as possible. So we go ahead and move forward a little bit more. The enemy team very, very clumped up on either side. That's a very good opportunity for a blizzard on top of them. So we try and hit that debuff on Varian. We do give Zarya a little bit. Kona cold out on this direction as we saw Alarak re-engage. And just try and hit that debuff and move around as much as possible. So switching targets pretty consistently to whoever's available out of position. So we're just trying to use this not necessarily as damage, but because Ragnaros should be able to beat Varian out in a 1v1, we're trying to zone out his escape, because if he goes into it, he's most certainly dead instead of close to dead. And we hit the minion wave on top of that, so providing clear regardless. So he goes in again, and Gazlo drops to Dahaka on top, and Varian just trying to run away for his life. So not going to work out. Ragnaros does drop him. Another Kona Cold out on the left on Alarak. Just hits him right on the corner. We kept moving up instead of engaging because we knew the enemy team was right on our ass. So again, positioning ourselves on the opposite side in between our team and the enemy. So just making sure that we have someone in front of us to take some of that damage. Again, just trying to hit where we can. A lot of damage out on the enemy Alarak, and I believe the Q from Ragnaros did enable that kill as well with our slow on top of it. So again, Vala already hurt, and with our debuff on top of her. So we hit her with a blizzard, and she has a great vault at that moment and gets out, unfortunately. But again, Diablo moving in and is not able to secure any kills, but it is quite close. Vala pushes out, trying to get that kill on Diablo for no reason, does fall as well. And again, because of our trait and because of our abilities up on top, we're able to use this large area of effects with Blizzard to be able to wipe down this objective quite quickly, which we were behind a little bit at the beginning of this engagement, or this objective phase, because of Gazlo and his abilities. So again, just moving forward, doing what we can. Here, his Explodium Charge was out. The minions were inside of that, but they do aggro onto the closest hero. So we did get their attention, move them away from that so that they get no charges or no minions killed with that Explodium Charge. And again, we just stand right on top of it, drop a Blizzard right on top of us, and wipe out those, which gained us almost 10 minions at that point. So 9 left, we have a significant advantage. We are about 3/4 of a level ahead of the enemy team. They're looking to try and engage as quickly as possible because time is not on their side for this moment. So we're eating a bit of damage, so we try to move away, a little bit of a body block. Now this is where we fuck up. So Dahaka was moving in, we got a little body block, we were already on our way out. We went back in. So we went back in, seeing that Ragnaros and Diablo were up and still pretty healthy. We're trying to position more towards this top area, but we fuck up and not actually looking at the full map and recognizing where the enemy team was going to be, and we re-engage. So again, that hurt us pretty bad, and we just die immediately. Nothing to do there, nothing to really accomplish ourselves. And though our team does scoop this up pretty well, the Zarya hit with the lasers from the shrine Zarya falling, and Vala falling on top of that. And Alarak yet again getting taken down a little too aggressive against the Punisher. So, we do spawn. Even though the objective is still active and still moving, we have a level advantage. We have 3 down. They're going to secure this fort regardless of where they're not. There are minions around and the Punisher, no problem. So, we're going to go ahead and go middle for the experience gain. Because we have strong Waveclear, we can get pressure on their middle fort as well, which is very, very strong on this particular map and this early to have that kind of advantage. So, we again have strong poke. So we were just kind of looking to stay and soak experience, hit some damage where we can, and just move around. Keep moving constantly. The friendly team looking to try and get some mercenary camps. We again wipe down a wave, ignore her completely. She was hit with the debuff, so we hit her with a Q. But noticing Alarak comes in, immediately disengaging. Because there's no reason to keep staying in there trying to fight that. So again, we're just kind of staying safe, recognizing where we can gain an advantage or not, and then deciding to help out the friendly team with that camp and gain that regen globe for that little bit of extra health as we're needing that going forward. So again, Nova staying out a little bit too long, didn't notice the rotation gets caught out. On our side, we were just trying, we knew that Diablo would probably come down and help us out. So we go ahead and take the camp. And not a whole lot beyond that. Now, up until this point as well, it's just on the build that we have, because this is unique, different from most of other players. So, Lingering Chill at level 1, increasing the duration of chill from 4 to 6 seconds, making it easier for you to hit damage and to follow up on your own debuff. Arcane Intellect at level 4, which is kind of weird for most Jaina. It actually refreshes your mana, or gives you mana, based on targets that you hit that are chilled. So if you deal damage to a chilled target, basic attack, or abilities, you gain mana off of that. So Jaina can be very, very mana hungry. And so going with this talent in particular gives you a huge buff in your ability to stay in fights and to continue to deal damage and to not have to go back. You're in the fight for longer and do more damage. Frostbitten at level 7, increasing the damage bonus from your trait Frostbite from 50 to 65%. And no surprise, at level 10 we were going to go, or are going to go, for Ring of Frost. A very, very solid talent at this point. And again, knowing that our friendly team is going to have this taken care of, we did want to move in on this camp, but not going to work out there. We'll slow it down to regular speed. Diablo, again, just zoning. We're making sure that we're staying safe between minions, our team, dancing around as much as possible, and again, hitting out what we can in damage. We let everyone know that we're ready with the Ring of Frost and ready to engage whenever they choose to do so. They decided that we wanted to back up, so we just went ahead with them, made sure that we were on that front line of the retreat, because no reason to try and die early or for no reason. We already did that once in the game, no reason to move forward. Again, the friendly team down here, we have some slight vision of this, so we just want to stay safe on the far right. But again, we want to try and move in here. A very, very good Ring of Frost opportunity. 3 heroes clumped together in a general area is always going to be solid for a ring. So we try and lay that down right on top. We were hoping to pull all 3 together, but as the enemy team retreats, we do at least hit 2. So already, both rooted and shielded on both Zarya and Alarak. Right on top of this, we lay down a Blizzard right on top of that area to hit them again for increased damage. Zarya eats a huge portion of that. We hit E immediately after that, and as many Qs as we can manage, just to hit the additional damage from our trait Frostbite. Or Frostbitten, I should say. And then immediately going to the objective, we already have 2 heroes down, so we're able to engage quite easily and just burst this down. So we can move this forward a bit until it gets a little bit closer to an interesting point. And at this point, again, the same kind of decision that we had earlier. We have a numbers advantage. We know that they just spawned, so it's going to take them probably about 10-15 seconds to actually get in on the objective. So instead of waiting and trying to fight the other 20 out, we have the ultimate advantage. We have the numbers advantage on the point. We're going to go ahead and go middle and try and push this as well. So again, burning down as much as we can. The enemy team moving in. Gazlo stepping out of position, unfortunately for him, gets knocked back into Dahaka, into the area, eating a ton of damage. And we just rotate back down after we cleared that and got our mercenary camp pushing in the correct direction. Let's slow it down to normal speed here. The enemy team engaging again, but we are able to peel that objective and make sure that we had that on our side as well. Varian out of position, eating a ton of damage, but rather than chasing that kill in, we had 3 heroes right here. If he turns around and stuns us, we're instantly dead. So instead of following up on that, where we likely could have gotten the kill, we just straight up back out and make sure that we're not going to die. So we think about it for a second and then realize, no, this is not a good idea. And try and move in on the corner here in a better position for us. Diablo re-engaging as well, but we are down 2 people over here. Dahaka on middle and Ragnaros dead and Nova nowhere near. So we try and stay safe where we can, wait for an opportunity to present itself. As soon as the Punisher jumps in, we're right on top of that. Immediately hit with a Q and the E. So Q hits the actual debuff, that Frostbolt, and then E on top of that just hits for that additional damage, which is a strong ability. Zarya using her ult, we just walk right on out of that and make sure that we're going to be fine. We try and peel a little bit with our slow for Diablo, making sure that he gets out as well. Because even though you're an assassin, doesn't mean you can't peel or try and help your friendly team in the right direction. So, again, a very solid advantage, a very good opportunity, a very good engagement for us. We're trying to follow up and stay with Diablo as much as possible. Not a whole lot more to be gained here, though. So at this point, we need to back out and try and move into something else that's productive. So myself and Diablo move down here and take this camp. And making sure that no one is following in on us as well. The enemy team still skirmishing over there. Not a whole lot to be gained, so there wasn't much reason to stay there. So instead, we're just moving forward and taking what advantages we can. Now, Jaina is pretty solid with the talents that we build on doing merc camps. Now, this, unfortunately, I had the ring. It was right there. When it actually coalesces and hits, it's way behind. I was way too late on that, but wanted the attempt as well. So, unfortunately, fucking up that ultimate pretty bad did hurt. But we hit level 13, and at level 13 for Jaina, what we go for is, should be coming in just a second. There we go. Ice Barrier. So basically we already have a mana increase. So whenever we hit shield targets, we gain mana. Now whenever we do damage with Frostbite or trait, we're shielded for 25% of that damage, and that lasts for 4 seconds. Very huge sustain on top of that. So right here, we already just hit with some basic abilities. The entire Merc camp is already almost dead, and our shield is for about 30-40% of our health, which is insane sustain for a mage. Makes it very, very good, solid, excuse me, a very, very good ability to pick up, or a very good talent to collect for Jaina in particular. The enemy team trying to come in, eating damage from all sources, and these small little alcoves, very good opportunities for Jaina. So again, dropping right on top of that, hitting the Q where we can, dropping the E right on top of their faces, because Blizzard was on cooldown from the Merc camp. So we used what was available and absolutely crushed them, again hitting with the Blizzard off of cooldown on top of Zarya's face. So let's go ahead and pull it forward. Of course, we push a little bit with the mercenary camp in the bottom lane. Nothing really to gain beyond that, other than clearing that wave, forcing them to do something there. Now, watch this. Nobody else around us, right? Nobody here. We hit one wave, and that applies our trait. Hit a Q, and the second wave comes down, and the third wave hits as well. Look at the shields that we have on Jaina because of that one talent. It turns her into a fucking monster for taking mercs, and our mana is not dropping at all with the abilities that we're putting out. So, with the Merc camp, we lost no health, or possibly gained health from the regen globe, and possibly gained mana from that as well. Again, it's insane the amount that you can get out of that. So, moving in again, the team got engaged pretty hard on. So it's a little difficult, but look at how clumped up the enemy team is. So we want to get in here as soon as possible. Even though there's nothing really around us anymore by the time that we get there, we're looking to chase kills as much as we can. With the slow, we're able to do a lot of work. So, an E right to the face for Varian. He is dead. We try and go in on Alarak, but not wanting to take the tower damage at this lower health, we just back on out. No reason to go in where we don't need to, because we have a huge advantage. We have the advantage on the objective. Zero reason to move forward. So again, hitting the abilities that we can on top of the objective, gaining the shields that we need to to sustain. And because we're low on health and the enemy team is going to be re-engaging, we want to make sure that we stay healthy. Always be aware of your health, always be aware of the enemy's position, and always be aware of your own position. And that is some of the best parts that you can learn as playing Jaina. So, third objective in a row, Ragnaros out of position, does get stuck, taunted, stunned, and wiped out completely. But on top of the Gazlo, we lay down that Ring of Frost, and that does catch him on that ass end of it and hit him. Now, one of the best things to do that I personally use for Ring of Frost is not, unless someone's standing still, like a Chen or something goofy like that, there's no reason to actually try and aim the Ring of Frost, like the actual corners of it, for your enemies. Because for the most part, they'll walk into it or will be forced out of it, into it, anything like that, or you force them to stay in place for that duration. So even if you don't hit it, it can still be a good ultimate. But obviously you want to try and wrap that around as much as you can. So you can throw it in a direction that's going to force one or two of the enemies into it, cut off an area as we kind of did here on their disengage. So it catches Gaz on the ass end of that. And that's not very uncommon at all. For you to put your enemy right in the middle of it and they'll walk out or walk into it, because your tanks are usually right on top of them and will engage. So you force them to make a decision of whether or not they want to die to your tank pushing them back or die to you hitting them with the Ring of Frost and then all of your abilities on top of their face. Again, and I apologize, this is going to be a bit of a long video trying to do this breakdown, trying to get through as quickly as possible. However, we try and move in as much as we can, hitting damage all over the place and using that Blizzard as a zoning tool, which is very solid. But unfortunately, we did stay too late. Varian was able to engage on the opposite side of the wall. Diablo not fast enough to react, and we do get wiped down with that. But that was not, by the way, Diablo's fault at all in any kind of capacity. That was all our positioning mistakes there. So we move forward. We have about 30 seconds of no time here. So we'll go ahead and just kind of watch this through. Nova trying to juke him around. Eventually gets caught out and killed. And we're having a good time with that one because that was pretty funny how close they got to getting away. So, Jaina again. Right back over here looking to follow in and just be near another one of our players. Be near a melee assassin, someone that can zone for us, someone that can do some solid work. Again, hitting Gazla with the Ring of Frost. Again, predicting his location and where he was going to go and throwing that on top of his face. So, friendly team again, doing a pretty solid job. Dahaka caught out pretty hard, but not too difficult there. It does get away. The zoning does prevent us from getting to our team and hitting the beautiful Blizzard that we were looking to get. But we try again to peel for our friendly heroes. So we were real close. He went back in, unfortunately, which is not a good decision. Now we're in a very tight spot where if they can hit one ability, we're screwed. But turning around and hitting Varian with a Q just to slow him down, slow his movement speed, did make sure that we at least were able to survive that point. Now again, let's go ahead and move forward. Nothing really to be gained for the most part. We see the enemy team rotating up, so we go ahead and cap a camp. Nothing too complicated there about that at all. We go ahead and drop this middle wave as well. I was thinking about trying to push towards this camp, but they did capture it. So, Diablo and myself move forward up towards the objective where we'll have everyone in not that long. But again, because we are down on numbers, we don't have everyone with us. Dahaka is bottom. Nova is on her way back. We do need to stay very, very safe at this position. So, we're trying to stay near our Dahaka. We get a little too brave here, I would say, and move to try and wipe down the enemy's camp as it was pushing forward to try and take away that value while they were doing something else. We do that. We do exactly that here. But, and because the shields that we gained, Varian's engagement on us went very south for him. Our team coming in very hard on this back end. And we try and move in ourselves. Now, Nova hitting a wonderful ultimate on top of that. We were dealing with Varian on this back line, and again, we can follow up, hit damage where we can, and drop that E on top of his face. But we do lose the objective barely before the entire team was wiped. So, here's something as well that you want to make sure of. If you're attacking near the Punisher or hit the Punisher at all, he will jump on your fucking face and punch you to death. As Nova found out, unfortunately, we did back up exactly for that reason. So we moved back a bit, But Nova again walks out right into the beams and dies. So she gets hit very, very hard, as we just do as well. But we have the sense to just walk away. And the enemy team dead. We're trying to defend as much as possible this fort, which already, because of Ragnaros, is at full health still before the Punisher even starts getting damage out on it. So we're moving back in, everyone coming together to defend, and it does drop right there. So moving forward, because we have about 5 minutes left on this, we want to get through this video at some point for you guys. Moving forward again, sticking with our team, as you should, because especially if you're playing a mage as squishy as Jaina, you need to stay with your team nearly at all times. After you hit near about level 7, Jaina should not really be on her own much at all. You get a little bit of that at level 13 because you can gain shields for yourself, so you have a little bit of sustain, but it's nowhere near what you would need that to be. So again, gaining shields where we can, hitting as much damage. Now, this is important because the enemy team, all 5, are here on our bottom fort. Now, rather than, which you'll see here in just a second, Ragnaros is, so this is the 2 options you have for pathing. Ragnaros decided to go the very direct route. The route that most wouldn't think makes sense, to move right towards where you need to go and to engage on the enemy team. Now, when you think about it though, where's Ragnaros? He is so far away from anyone on our team that now this enemy team can just turn right around and engage right on his face. They're already set up with Gazlo turrets. They have a camp here that's going to be hitting damage all over the place. And they have 4 enemy heroes right there, right in the same side, that are closer to him than any of our friendly teammates. So, exactly as kind of predicted, it drops through. Dahaka tries to help as quickly as possible, grabbing Variant, but it's already too late at that point. Again, we hit a 3-man Ring of Frost here, but because Ragnaros engaged too hard, Dahaka was already pushing back and trying to get Varian, there was no way that we could move in safely, especially with the ultimate from Zarya there. So, unfortunately, even though it was a fantastic Ring of Frost, we get no value from it because our team followed it up a little bit goofy. Now, as well, at level 20, we'd end up going for on Jaina. So at 16, Northern Exposure, increasing the damage, or basically making it vulnerable with your E on any targets that you do hit that are heroic targets. And at 20, improved Ice Block, making sure that our sustain is good because Varian can engage very, very hard, and so making sure that we don't die to something like that is important. So we get stunned, and immediately drop the Ice Block so he can't do any damage. Nova on top of him with the vulnerability and her damage, then we can turn it right off and just re-engage immediately, just to make his life hell. Again, though, having a lot of damage come out, he barely stays alive. And the enemy team pushing in. Nova doing a great job against Gazlo, but we're all pretty low here. So we're trying to engage. Again, Zarya, right here on the bottom, eating a lot of damage, but we're feeding her at this point as well. But the vulnerability does kind of counteract her endurance. So having the buff of 25% less damage taken basically negates out and she eats normal damage. So we stasis again because it was off a cooldown, so she has to target something else. And then turn it right back on and drop abilities on her face. Again, we can try and zone out Alarak here. See the Frostbolt there as we eat that strike. But Nova able to do enough damage that he is going to back out. So, again, making sure our positioning saved us a life at least twice in that same fight, which is very, very important because Jaina is a squishy, squishy hero. So, moving in here, Dahaka does fall, unfortunately, right out the gate, though Vala dead as well. Nova in a kind of precarious situation, but we're kind of ready to go. We're in place. Ragnaros is coming up on top. It's a 3-on-3 here at the moment. We do get taunted by Varian, but with the damage that we're able to do on top of him and the Apocalypse zoning him out, we're able to stasis again so he doesn't gain any health off of us. And he has to switch targets as he's eating damage from 2 other people. And then right on top of him again, he's not able to gain the sustain. He's not able to get anything that makes him good. Because of that ice block. And then again, we have full control over the objective with only 2 players available, and Alarak was damn near dead, had to use Last Laugh to get away. So, Jaina again, even though we're on the objective, we know there's no one there, we're staying on our friendly side of the objective, because there's no reason to be aggressively positioned in this area when you know that's where the enemy team is going to be coming from. Stay away from their engage points at all times. So Jaina moving forward and just taking what we have available to us, not doing anything too fancy at all. Going back to clear to save our lane a little bit more than it would have been by itself. Again, pushing forward. Nearing the end of the game. I believe this is about a 22-minute match, so I think this is the death push here. Okay. Now, just again, hitting damage where we can, avoiding yet another Zarya ultimate, dropping a blizzard on her face as she eats the damage from both Nova and myself. She drops. Now, we have another whiffed ultimate, unfortunately, but luck be on our side. The Punisher does jump in and stun both of them anyway. So now we can, right out in front of us, hit the Cone of Cold, make both Gazlowe and Varian vulnerable. And Gazlowe already getting punched in the face by the Immortal by the Punisher that's dropped. The Sulfura Smash on top of Varian, and the vulnerability from both myself and Nova ensures that he dies. The fort is already going to drop for that keep. And again, we can just push in right towards the end of this match with 45-second death timers. Not too much they can do. Now, at this point, though, we are staying almost asking them to engage because we know our team's right here and Nova's kind of on the side. It's kind of a bait to get them to come in. Nova opens up a little early, unfortunately, to get that particular kill. But it's going to happen anyway. And that worked out to be the game right there. So, a lot of that, as I said on multiple sides, we did get, by the way, MVP for our team, which was pretty fantastic. We didn't do insane numbers or anything in that kind of degree. We hit 95,000 siege, 32,000 hero damage, which was one of the lowest actually on our team by a bit. Diablo had a little bit higher than us as well, so we had the lowest damage on the entire map, which is kind of rare for a Jaina, but because we were staying safe and positioning well, we also died the least by a pretty substantial margin. So Diablo died 3, and the closest to that was 5. So we stayed safer than anyone else on the map, still did comparable relatively damage, did solid siege, and had the highest XP contribution. And gained MVP, primarily because of those deaths. And that's kind of how you're able to stack that up and move forward. So, a majority of, again, the things that we wanted to focus on for Jaina. Positioning, positioning, positioning. Always look where you're going, what you're doing, where the enemy's at, and what you can do to hit your abilities or engage with Ring of Frost. Because, as silly as it sounds, mage engaging is somewhat the case with the Ring of Frost in particular. Because you can lock them down and immediately hit massive amounts of damage on their face, and they can't avoid it. Stay behind your tanks. Make sure that if you have melee assassins or tanks or anyone that's going to be a frontline hero, stay behind them. Because there's no reason for you to get up. Your abilities have a wide range in general, unless you're trying to go in for an aggressive E as a finisher, or towards after level 16 as that vulnerability. There's no reason to be up in their face at all, and you're putting yourself in a dangerous position. Always stay back. Always be safe on Jaina. And 3 is just make sure that you use your abilities wisely. So, again, dropping on minion waves, a blizzard that hits all of that minion wave, or as much as possible. For a normal wave that doesn't have, like, 2 groups or anything like that, as one group, you should be able to hit all of them in one blast. And dropping a Cone of Cold on top of those to finish those off. When you go into heroes after level 16, the damage rotation goes to your E first, as that damage is increased with that vulnerability on Cone of Cold with Northern Exposure at level 16 talent. And then you can drop a Blizzard on their face and then hit them or chase them with that Q, which is usually the case that they're already dead. And then at 20, personally choose to go Ice Block just for the survivability. Usually comes in extremely handy, in particular against dive-heavy comps or those that have strong stuns or crowd control. But that is Jaina. I know that the actual video is almost double the length of the actual game, but I hope that that kind of breakdown and the pausing and going over what the thought process was, what we were doing, why we were doing it, comes in at least a little bit handy for newer players or someone looking to get into Jaina. And again, if you do not yet have Jaina or would like that code for your friend, anything in that way at all that you want to try and entice into playing the game, feel free to drop that in the comment below, and we will do that as well for our 100 subscriber video that we had. We're going to give that away on the 1st of the year, or very close to that, because I'm going to be hungover as fuck on the 1st. So we'll do that very shortly thereafter, if not on the actual 1st. Or maybe I'll just do a live stream hungover as all hell and give the results in a short video that way. Maybe that'll be a little easier. But thank you everybody for stopping by. I know this one's a long one. I appreciate you sticking through it, and we'll see you all in the Nexus.